Hello and welcome to another edition of the Forza Napoli podcast. I'm your host, Joe Fischetti. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. On today's episode, we are going to talk about Napoli's massive 3-1 victory over Atalanta, our first match out of the November international break. And there was a whole host of speculation and controversy going into the international break after the 2-0 defeat to Bologna. So this was a really important match. We are going to talk all about that on today's episode. And I am joined by a guest, a first-time guest to help me out with that. Alesandro, welcome to the Forza Napoli podcast.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I think we're all doing pretty well, right? Like we're
Oh
all
man,
a little bit freaked out heading into this round, I think.
man, I was super ecstatic. I mean, my boys finally scoring Langaneres. I've been wanting them to score for so long, and finally show what they're capable of in this new Conte system. So
Well,
good.
yeah, I think that's exactly where I want to start. But let me just quickly kind of recap for those who have been snoozing a little bit during the international break. Certainly, Italy helps us helps us
Well,
snooze.
yeah,
Um, but this win was exactly what the doctor ordered, right? Like we were in a pretty sad place heading into the international break. We had that what was a pretty, I would say, a pretty comprehensive defeat at the hands of Bologna at the last match before the break. We were not scoring. We hadn't scored in 3 consecutive matches in all competitions. We hadn't scored in 4 consecutive matches from open play. Um, Conte did not mince his words in his post-match press conference, and there was a whole bunch of drama around that. There was those comments and his comments about how he has no intention of walking with a dead body, or however he put it, really made it seem like he might actually leave, and the papers feasted with the international break. It wasn't helped by the fact that right after or right at the start of the break, we had these podcasts coming out with Lobotka making comments, his agents making comments, and a lot of comments about Conte's training regimen. Then we had Conte taking a 3-day break, which, mind you, had been agreed to with the club, before, well in advance, and it was for his daughter's birthday that he went to Torino. But still, a lot of people felt like this is really not the time to be leaving the club for 3 days in the current situation. So there was so much controversy. And then at the same time, we had Atalanta, who had replaced Ivan Juric with Raffaele Palladino. And so there was also this risk that now we're going to play against a team that could have the new manager bounce. Thankfully, Palladino, as a true Napolitano, tends to not do too well against Napoli. Um, but like I said, I want to start with the 3-4-3 formation because Alessandro, I think like that was the most obvious change heading into this match, and it clearly worked, at least in the first half, really well, and was
yeah.
good
That
enough
second half,
to get
man.
yeah, to get us this result. But what did you think of the 3-4-3 formation?
Well, what I thought of the 3-4-3 formation, I thought it was pushing our defenders up really well. Like I thought Buongiorno was pushing up in the rush really well, and yeah, I thought our wingers got more exposed, like up on the flank. So it was good to see wingers getting more involved too. So yeah, I thought it was pretty solid to start this new formation.
Yeah, I think before the Bologna match, even a lot of us were saying he's got to try something different because clearly
Yeah,
whatever we were doing just wasn't working. And so we finally got it, and maybe it was because he was kind of cornered. Actually, shout out to a friend, good friend of the show, Chris Kelly, because he had messaged me offline and said, you know, um, he had shared a link to a story that basically confirmed, or another show that confirmed what we had talked about previously, which was that the kind of senatori of the club, the Lorenzo Politano, so on, had approached Conte
I
about the
saw that. Yeah,
training,
yeah.
and my reaction to Chris initially was that that's great, but I just feel like Conte's too stubborn to change his ways anyways, and I hope that was wrong. Now, we don't know if Conte changed the training regimen or not, but what Chris kind of rightly pointed out to me was that, when we first signed Antonio Conte, everybody was saying he's a rigid 3-5-2 guy. He is not going to change, even if we don't have the players built for that system. And he used like 5 different formations last season. So maybe he is able to change. And again, I don't know about the training, but he certainly changed the formation. Um, One of the most, I think, the most obvious improvements that resulted from this change of formation. I'm going to get to the defense in a second because I think you're spot on with
Yeah.
how the defense played. But I want to start with the attack because I had talked about it last episode that we were getting no production from our wingers between Politano, Neres, um, and Lang. They had no goals and I think 3 combined assists. But in this game, we got 3 goals from our wingers.
Perfect. No, it was great. Politano. I don't think he has it in him anymore. Honestly, I mean, look at him, man. 0 goals, 1 assist in 10 games played. I mean, that just isn't good enough for the new Napoli standard. I mean, these guys needed to get chances. Like, how are you going to be playing these guys, Neres and Lang, for like 20 minutes? Like, they can't even do anything. So finally getting that freedom to open up and do whatever they want. I mean, it worked, and look, it got us 3 goals. So nothing much to complain about there. Start them more is what I'm trying to say. Start them more.
Yeah, well, we're gonna touch on that too, whether he should kind of roll with this system. But this is the slide that I threw up for those who are watching on YouTube last episode, and you can see the production. And I think the 3-4-3 really helped with the wingers, particularly. We're gonna start most of this episode with the positives from this match because there was a lot of positives. There were a few negatives, and I think a lot of people would probably put Hojlund's performance in the negative category. But one thing that I thought was very positive about Hojlund's performance was just the way he was used. It was the most Lukaku type performance out of Hojlund that I think we've seen so far. And what I mean by that, and funny enough, it's probably the same reason why United kind of got rid of him, because the way United used to use Hojlund was that he would be kind of like a drop to receive the ball playmaker type. And so generally when you use a striker that way, they're going to score fewer goals because they're more involved in the build up. And that's not necessarily, I think, the best way to use Hojlund typically, especially when you have De Bruyne in the lineup, because you want De Bruyne playing him in behind the defenders, and we saw the success with that. But with no De Bruyne in the lineup, I thought this was a brilliant little tactical tweak from Conte, and we saw it on the first goal where I think it was Di Lorenzo who played the diagonal ball, and Hojlund played a perfect flick. They managed to
Wow.
get.
Yeah, it was nice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They managed to get the matchups kind of mixed up because I mean, first of all, Hojlund, I don't know what he did to piss people off, but this guy is getting absolutely manhandled. I can't remember who it was, maybe Emil Holm, or I can't remember who on Bologna that was just draped all over him that match and
Oh my, he
constant
was getting
fouls
fouled like 20
like
different
crazy. And
times
instead,
that game.
he's the one getting yellow cards. And then again, we had the exact same thing in this match with who was it Isaac Kian, I think?
Keen, yeah, Hein or whatever his name
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. But on this flick, I don't even think it was him that ended up matched up with Neres. It might have been the other Atalanta center back. But either way, you have a big center back trying to chase David Neres. All you got to do is get that ball into space and let Neres run, and that's exactly what Hojlund did with that little flick. And then Neres did the rest. I mean, what do you think of Neres in this game? Because he was the man of the match, 2 goals. Like you see on the screen, he hadn't scored yet this season. He doubled his production because he had 2 assists. Now he's got 2 goals and 2 assists. And the finishes were really spectacular.
Like amazing. I mean, he's one of my favorite players on Napoli right now. Um, he's very pacey, which I like. I like the pace on him, both him and Lang. So I feel like him and Lang together, they fit really well. But him specifically, just the way that he gets himself in the right positions is just perfect. And you saw it on those 2 goals.
Yeah, and Conte preseason said that he wanted Neres to be kind of the backup Politano on the right. I think because we didn't sign Dan and Doy, we ended up using Neres more as a left winger or as a substitute because we were using a different system, and McTominay was kind of playing as the left winger. But we saw the value of using him on the right wing here. I thought both finishes were great for different reasons. The first one, he was so composed. It looked like he looked like he was slower than he normally is, maybe because he
Yeah.
had the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
And it really looked like he was going to be caught by the defender there. But at the same time, I think the touch to come across the defender was really smart because either like there was a good chance that if the defender tries to tackle him there, he commits a foul in the area and we get a penalty kick, which I don't know. Without De Bruyne, I'm less confident that we convert penalties, so I'm glad he just scored. But then also to just have the calmness and the composure, I thought it was like a very Brazilian finish to kind of just pass it into the bottom corner there. I don't know why he didn't seem to celebrate too much on that goal. I don't know if he was just being cool, kind of like Anguissa. I don't know if it was last year or the season before where he scored the goal against Juve maybe, and he just stood there in the area, just kind of like a boss
He
move.
was trying to be too nonchalant with it.
That's right. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and then the second goal, brilliant pass from McTominay, who I think quietly had a
He
fantastic
was
performance as well.
great. Yeah, going through everybody like it was nothing.
Yeah, those couple of instances, especially in the second half, where we really didn't have much of the ball, and he just kind of dribbled out of our own area and drew a foul or whatever, just to relieve some of the pressure, was fantastic. But the assist on the second goal was beautiful as well, and then the finish again from Neres, first time with his left because the pass was perfectly weighted, bottom corner at the far post. That time he did celebrate with his boy Neres. Lang, Neres and Lang together.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had Lang scoring his first goal of the season from a pretty nice pass from Di Lorenzo. What did you make of? I mean, you're quite fond of both of these guys, as you said. You must have been pretty happy to
I
see
am,
Neres.
and I don't know if you caught it, but Lang was pointing at the badge and kissing it. I'm pretty sure.
He was. You teed me
So
up.
that shut down the rumors of him leaving in January, which I'm happy
That's
about.
right,
So,
exactly. I was going to bring that up as well because he was not only was he holding the badge, he was kind of like pointing like down as if to say like I'm here to stay,
I'm
I'm not
here.
going
Yeah.
anywhere. And a goal with his head of all things. He's known as like a skill guy, a finesse guy, and he scores on a header. I will talk about Di Lorenzo as well because I thought that ball was great and it was a great play. But you mentioned Lang potentially leaving in January, and you touched on the defenders earlier. Another player who was possibly rumored to leave in January as well was Sam Beukema. And I don't know what you think, but I thought he might have been our best center back out of the three in this match, or the four if you include Juan Jesus.
Wow, man, he was making tackles left, right, and center. I mean, this guy is crazy. I mean, you're using these players. You have 9 players. You have to use them somehow, some way. So you use Beukema. I mean, he was great this game, and if he's gonna leave in January, like you got to be patient, buddy. I mean, there's rotation. You got to rotate these guys, and you got to do your job. So he was doing his job yesterday. I mean, great defensive performance from him. So
Absolutely. I think like so many players benefited from using the back three in this scenario, and Beukema was one of them. I thought he was quite aggressive as well, like all of our center backs were. There was the play where I think it was sort of midway through the second half, and Daniel Maldini had a chance to kind of break free, and Beukema slid and
yeah,
cleared
that's the play that I was talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
and he
that
did the
play.
fist bump afterwards, which you
Yeah,
love to see.
which is good.
Yeah,
Both of these guys that are supposed to leave in January are showing emotion, which is good.
that's
Good to
right.
see.
Exactly. Clearly, they're not disinterested, and you can actually say the same thing about Conte. We were joking. We were watching this with the Napoli Club Toronto at Bar 6, and whenever it would cut to Conte on the sideline, and he's yelling and screaming and pointing and doing all the things that that Conte typically does. We were kind of joking, oh yeah, look, he's clearly
Yeah.
lost interest and he's clearly on his way out the door. But I think these are all really, really positive signs that the mentality and the desire that perhaps had been lacking in recent weeks and that we showed last season or 3 seasons ago had kind of returned. And I think there were other indications of that as well. I mentioned to Vincenzo early in the match that they seemed to have like a little extra pep in their step. They were going in a little bit harder into their tackles. There was a little bit more desire to win the ball back. When I think it was on Neda's second goal, we saw him and Lang kind of dancing together, and we know that they're pretty close. Even I don't know if you caught this, but after the match, we had just gotten this really important 3-1 victory, and it almost looked like McTominay was kind of like maybe not reaming out Beukema, but he was definitely, they were talking about some sort of positional thing that, and it was like, I love to see it because it's like that is very much a kind of winner's mentality. Even though we got a win, McTominay was making sure to coach his teammate on where he needed to be on a specific type of scenario. Um, but Alec, probably the most impressive out of or the most significant of these positive signs for me, at least, and I have a feeling you're going to agree, is the fact that we had Romelu Lukaku sitting in the stands
And
and we
Anguissa.
and Anguissa, and we saw them cheering together for the goal, and then he made his way down to the touchline for the final whistle, and we saw his celebrations and a big embrace. Like, how important is Lukaku, even if he's not in the lineup, just his presence from a leadership standpoint for this team?
He's so important. I mean, he's even showing emotion. I think he posted on Instagram, one of his Instagram stories, when we got that late winner against Cagliari. I mean, it's clear that he wants to be here. So he's just so important with everything. I mean, he's a veteran guy. I mean, he's played in the Premier League. He's played in Serie A, multiple clubs, so he knows what it takes to win these type of like mental battles. So it'll be good to get him back, which I'm hearing is soon.
Well, yeah, you sent me a link today as we were prepping for this pod, saying that he could actually be in the lineup for the Roma match, which is only a week from now. Um, if he is, I have a feeling that he's
I
probably not
don't.
going to be starting. At best he'll be a substitute. But again, I think just his presence adds something that was lacking, right?
I don't know if that source is good. I mean, Core Sport. I don't know if that's too reliable, but hey, I'll take it if it's 0-0 with Roma, because I know they're very defensive. They got the best defensive record in Serie A so far. I mean, if it's 0-0, we need him for the last 10 minutes. We take Hojlund off, and thank God we don't got to see Lorenzo Luca for those 10 minutes. If it, I know. Shout out Sereno if he's listening, because I know he's one of the biggest Lorenzo Luca haters. But yeah, if Lukaku comes on for the last 10 minutes and provides something, I mean, what more can you ask for a guy that's been injured for since the start of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a big match that I can see why he would want to be there. He's somehow accelerated his recovery time by almost a month or at least a few weeks. He was supposed to come back like mid-December, and then you would assume there's going to be like a week or two of just getting the rhythm back, getting the timing back. So if he is somehow even makes an appearance in that Roma match, that is insane, for especially for someone his age to recover that quickly. I'm actually quite nervous about that. Like, sometimes players, because they want to play so badly, say that they're ready to go, or maybe they even feel like they're ready to go when physically they're not. And I'm really like deathly afraid of another injury that sets him back, and then we're out, without Lukaku for the remainder of the season or something. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, I think having him, whether he's even suited or not, just having him around, I think is really, really important. He's definitely at the training session, so that's all great. And he's Conte's guy. He knows Conte again. They had that big embrace as soon as that final whistle went. So things feel like they're finally starting to, at least on the injury front, improve. Mind you, we did have a couple of
Anguissa.
guys. Yeah, I know losing
Anguissa.
Anguissa and De Bruyne, they're going to be out for a while. I mean, I think what we in Anguissa's case, well, in the midfield in general, I think we just got to get to January, and then the club 100% is going to bring in another midfielder because,
Menu.
hopefully Menu or Atta. Well, I think Udinese already said they're not selling Atta, which would have been a nice piece to add. But
Man.
but we're not going to be able to depend on like Elmas and Vergara. Although I'd love to see. I'm really hoping Vergara gets a few minutes against Qarabag because I think
he had one appearance so far this
year.
year.
So far, yeah, and Ambrosino, or one or two, both Ambrosino and Vergara. Although Conte did in his post-match press conference kind of allude to the potential for them to see some minutes because he said it was like he was trying his best to not make any excuses because that's just not Conte's way. It's kind of like, these things happen and we have to find a way to, do our best given the circumstances. But he did remind everyone that, like, we lost Rachmani for a long time. We lost Lobotka for a long time. Lukaku's been out since the start of the season. Now we lost De Bruyne, and then we lost Anguissa. Like, these are really important players that are not there. And when you have a limited squad, everybody needs to participate. He commented on how even Matsuoki played, and he's been waiting patiently. He played 1 second.
We all cheered. We were there. We all stood up and cheered for him because he deserves to get some minutes.
Yeah, although I think he also maybe showed us why. I mean, look, you cannot.
How many times did he lose the ball that game? Like 8?
Yeah, like you cannot knock his effort. Like, he knows that he's not the most talented player on the team, so what he lacks in talent, he makes up for in passion and effort and desire. Although that could also sometimes lead to red cards because he's a little overexcited. But that's where we're at. Everybody needs to contribute. So I fully expect that Vergara and Ambrosino will be a part of that. Conte also mentioned reminded everyone that there were 5 players in the starting 11 that were not part of this team last season. I think it was Vanja, Beukema, Gutierrez, Hojlund, and Lang.
Lang.
And then more off the bench, right? Elmas and I can't remember. There was one more I think that came off the bench, that Luka. So you just got to do what you got to do with the squad. Another player, going back to the defense, that I thought had his best match of the season was Giovanni Di Lorenzo. What did you make of his performance?
Nice assist. It seems like this formation is fitting him, so it's good to see the captain back in form because we don't want the captain to fall out with the club and the fans. So
yeah, and we've started to see a little bit of that fallout. First at the national level with the Italian national team. He's been getting hate for like a year now, also more recently with Napoli, and I think it's reasonable to expect that when you play the number of minutes that he plays, even as a defensive player, mind you, as kind of like an attacking fullback, it's going to catch up to any player. And he too, like we talked about him and Politano, it's probably the guys who work hardest, aside from maybe McTominay, talking to Conte about training. But I agree that I think he also really benefited from the 3-4-3 formation because where he struggled this year is more on the defensive end, especially when he has to defend 1v1. But with 3 center backs behind him, he knows he has that extra protection, right? And mind you, he still made some really good defensive plays. There was the one where he kind of I can't remember which. I think it was Lookman that would have been clear on goal, and he sort of slid to volley the ball away to prevent a clear break. There was another strong play where he just kind of shielded the ball to prevent Ederson from. He ended up winning a goal kick. Ederson couldn't get there, but where he thrived in this match was more in the attacking phase, and at times he looked like he was a central midfielder because he was not only getting forward but tucking into the middle of the park. And you mentioned the assist on, excuse me, on the Lang goal. He also played the pass before the pass on the first goal, right? I mentioned earlier that it was Lorenzo that played the diagonal to Hojlund and he flicked it on. So I think it was a great performance from Lorenzo, which was great to see as our captain and someone who's been struggling a little bit. And I think just as a whole, we defended really well in this match. Like Lookman has been a Napoli killer in previous matches, and he really wasn't much of a threat. It seemed like as soon as he would get the ball, he was just swarmed by Napoli players, and he just couldn't get any shots.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't looked the same as he usually does this season, but yeah, I mean, same thing with Leao. I remember in the Milan match, there was like 7 players around um Leao. So it's this Conte mentality of just track back and just get whoever's on the ball, just go for it.
That's right. And it's the homework, right? It's the prep. Lookman had 2 shot attempts in this match, one on target, which was the one that it was a decent effort, but it was straight at Vanja, kind of just bounced right into his gloves, XG of 0.1. But you're right. Also, Lookman's had, a difficult time, the issues with Juric and even with Gasperini last season. It's surprising that he's still there, and Atalanta might have been wise to sell him when his value was still higher. They might leave some money on the table with him. But all in all, solid defensive performance. Let's move on to some of the negatives though, because while we defended really well, I think we probably defended more than we would have liked to, particularly in the second half. I mean, we came out of the break reasonably well. We had that chance from McTominay that Karnaseki made a really good sort of
Yeah.
strong save with his right hand, and then it just felt like Atalanta had the ball the entire half, and so probably not what we want to see. We want to see a more complete performance. At the same time, though, I think it's probably to be a little bit expected when you have a 3-goal lead going into the break.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like we were playing with 10 men, but thankfully we prevented everything from happening. I mean, that Scamacca goal. I mean, what can you do about it? I mean, what a strike from him! Why can't he do that for Italy? Is my question. But it's whatever now. I mean, yeah, it's a good game from us. Good second half. I mean, nothing really to complain about defensively.
Yeah, I think the only chance that I can think of beyond the goal, which I agree, it was a brilliant play by Skamaka, and we have to tip our hats to him because I thought he was a real game changer coming off the bench and at the start of the second half. He was winning every ball. His touch was on. He there was that one play where he kind of turned and played a beautiful through ball. I think it was to Bellanova, but his cross was a bit overhit, so it didn't amount to
Yeah.
anything. But it seemed like Skamaka couldn't do anything wrong. He was dropping and turning and playing these diagonal balls to De Ketelaere. But really, other than the goal, the only chance I can recall that stands out to me that Atalanta came really close was the De Ketelaere
Yeah,
chance that
that yeah,
he
that
missed that top
chance.
corner. And I think Lang respected him a little bit too much and gave him his left foot, which was, I don't expect Lang to be the best defender on the team. But otherwise, I think while we were under siege, we defended quite well, especially when they were trying to play through us in the area. Like it's very easy to give up a penalty kick in those types of scenarios, but we were very calm in the area and played little passes. Sometimes a little risky. There was one where Lobotka tried to pass his way out of the back, and we gave the ball right back to Atalanta. Thankfully, that the Ketelaere shot didn't go in because then it would have gotten really tense. That would have made it 3-2 with like 20 minutes left, and they were all over us. So
We would have had to play 10 at the back at that point.
yeah, I
Honestly,
think I think at that point Conte is just throwing all his defenders on and hoping for the best. But I mean, we were kind of playing 10 at the back anyways, so I don't
yeah,
even know if that would have been a huge change. Um, Another negative for me in this match, like I mentioned, the positives of Hojlund's performance in terms of that Lukaku style dropping and setting up his wingers type of play, but it also, from an attacking standpoint, was not his best performance either.
yeah, he's not getting that De Bruyne type of
Service.
service. Yeah, he's not getting that De Bruyne type of service, and you can see. I mean, Anguissa's trying. Anguissa tried. I mean, I don't think he scored since that Genoa game. I'm pretty sure, and that's when De Bruyne was still playing. So let's hope it doesn't keep on going with ever since like De Bruyne is out. He doesn't get any service because he needs something. So
Yeah, and hopefully, I'm more concerned that it doesn't affect his confidence because I mean, first I think he missed a couple of games. He seems to have been dealing with some injuries. Maybe he's not 100%. Like we saw him kind of pull up holding the back of his right leg in this match and asked to be taken off. Rachmani also was taken off,
I
but
got scared for a second. I'm like,
I mean,
Luca.
yeah, I know, and even with Lukaku almost ready, still. But I think the first sort of positive indication was that both of those guys walked off the pitch on their own accord, and nobody had to be like. If you think of how De Bruyne had to be helped off the field, this was very different. It sounds like from what Conte said post match, they took them off for precautionary reasons or pretty minor injuries. So that's a good sign. I still think Luka is probably going to start against Qarabag because it's Qarabag, and we probably want to make sure that Hojlund gets the week to prep for Roma. But not his best performance. His touch was off. He had some really heavy touches. Maybe it was the physicality of Hien that kind of got to him, or he would feel that pressure. And so, while he did have a couple good touches, we talked about the assist. I think he really struggled in this match. Um, I also don't think he was helped a whole lot by his goalkeeper because Vanya, while we praise him and talk about his long ball as this like added weapon, his long ball in this match was quite poor as well.
Yeah, it's not good to put long balls with like 10 minutes left. I mean, that's gonna get you're gonna get nerves like crazy. I mean, I was nervous even though we were up by 2 goals. So you know, you got to tone that down a little bit. The goalkeeper coach has to be like, has to say to him, like, come on, tone it down a little bit. Otherwise, you know, if he keeps on doing this, especially if we're going to come up against a high pressing team in the
Mm-hmm.
Champions League or whatever, it could cost us. So,
Yeah, I think the possession stats were something like I don't know, 46 for Napoli to 54 for Atalanta or
which I was surprised by, honestly.
yeah, I mean,
I
you
would
mean surprising
assume.
that like you thought we would have more of the ball or you're surprised after
I'm
watching
surprised.
that it wasn't
I'm
more?
surprised it wasn't more for Atalanta.
Yeah, yeah, it
Yeah.
felt like they had more of the ball. But like I don't mind the long ball. But I think he's using it a little too often, and in this match, he was also just not playing good balls. Like a lot of them were just these line drive passes. So I almost don't blame Hoyland for some heavy touches because these balls are being drilled at him. You at least you want him to kind of float them long so they hang up in the air and they're a little bit easier to control. And when you're playing these kind of line drive long balls, more often than not, you're just going to give the ball right back to the other team, and that puts a lot of pressure on the defense because they never get to catch their breath. Like you want that was what was lacking in the second half, and Conte mentioned this as well that we were after we conceded, we were a little bit anxious and we needed to manage the ball better, which is a way of saying that we needed to hold on to the ball to just allow everybody to catch their breath a little bit and relieve some of that pressure. Thankfully, again, with a 3-goal lead, you have some room there. And now Atalanta, weren't really hitting the target a whole lot. I think they only had 3 shots on target in the match. So that helped. But all in all, I think we're quite happy with this performance, right? Like
I mean,
given everything we talked about at the start of the pod, we
the
just needed to win however we got it.
well, I mean, there wasn't really much to do for Vanya, so I mean, it could be a little bit of rust or whatever, but yeah,
That's right. Yeah, he had that one save where the ball was probably going to go wide or maybe hit the outside of the post, and I think, rightfully didn't take any chances. I think it was that Skamak as well. I think it was.
yeah,
And then he
yeah,
had one like where he caught across. But otherwise, yeah, he wasn't particularly busy. He was furious that he conceded, which I understand.
yeah.
Like
I mean,
he probably feels like he
probably should have gotten that, to be honest.
maybe I don't know. I thought like Skamaka's run was really, really smart there because like if you if you go freeze frame that when he hits the volley, I think there's like 6 or 7 Napoli players in the area, but a smart striker, what they do in that situation is they slow down their run to create a little bit of space, and that's exactly what he did. And then that finish is just world class, and we know Scamacca has that in his
Yeah.
repertoire. Yeah, you never want to get beat at the near post, so maybe he was frustrated in
He
that,
almost got it. He almost like he
and
was.
he still came close. Like,
Yeah.
to me, that's more just a quality finish than a goalkeeper error, and
Yeah.
I think you agree. But yeah,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
probably was a little mad at himself regardless, because that was a game where a clean sheet would have been really nice, but we'll take the win. Um, Gutierrez was another player that had a solid performance. I thought it's funny because we talked about Lang, and there are times where he looks at me. I don't know if it's just his demeanor or his style of running, but he never looks like he's playing as hard as he can. And like he's almost kind of coasting, just jogging. And then
Who, Langer or
Lang,
Gutierrez? Yeah,
no,
Lang.
Gutierrez. There were times where Gutierrez like blew past Lang on the wing. It was like he was the
Yeah. Yeah.
winger. But then at one point a stat popped up and Lang had run like 5.2 kilometers. So I guess he had
Yeah.
very nonchalantly done a lot of running. But I've been really impressed with Gutierrez as well. So that's a positive, because we were still without Spinazzola, who we didn't mention earlier in terms
I
of
think he would do well with the system. Really
yeah,
well.
because he's a bit more of an attack minded defender. So playing as a fifth, as a wing back in a 3-4-3 or even a 3-5-2. Say when Anguissa comes back, it's very
Yeah.
easy to switch to a 3-5-2 and throw Anguissa in that midfield as well. I think that really suits Gutierrez. There was one play where he made, I think Carnesecchi played a long ball, and he stepped up, controlled it on his chest, and immediately broke, and that created a chance for McTominay, but he kind of sliced it wide of the mark. So all in all, yeah, there were some negatives here. I think the positives clearly outweighed the negatives. And that sets us up for now 2 big matches. I mean, this is probably a critical time of the season. Lots of matches coming,
We
various
got
competitions with, we have Qarabag in the Champions League, then we have Roma, who are now top of the table after they beat Cremonese 3-1 at the weekend. We've got Coppa Italia coming up with Cagliari. We've got Supercoppa coming up with Milan. It's just going to be insane. But I want to get your thoughts a little bit on how you think Conte might play this. One, do we stick with the 3-4-3 formation? And two, does he stick with this lineup? And when does he use which players? I know. Sorry, I asked you like 7 questions in one there.
okay. Heavy rotation. I mean, it's Qarabag. Like, they're from Azerbaijan. I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
I mean,
if you can't rotate in this match, then when can you?
yeah, we got to get prep for Roma, so might as well rotate.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna get some guys. Like, I think maybe Vergara, like you were mentioning before, he might get some minutes. Vanja is gonna stay there. McTominay, maybe he'll rest. I think he might rest. I think so. Politano is going to start. We know Conte with Politano. Di Lorenzo is gonna start, which sucks because I mean it's Qarabag.
Yeah, we just don't have an alternative.
Yeah. Hojlund is going to be benched, so Luka is going to start, unfortunately, which is yeah.
But again, I think that's the type of game he needs to be playing in, and
Yeah.
maybe it can be a confidence booster for him. He got caught, but there was one play that he made in this game where he took the long ball down really well and set himself up.
Although he
shot.
scuffed it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it was blocked. I think it was Kosunu or someone that chased him down because he's slow and blocked the shot.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not convinced that. I think we have a difference of opinion on this one. I'm not convinced that Politano starts against Qarabag. I think that's probably the likely case, given that Neres and Lang both played, I don't know, 70 minutes against Atalanta. But there is a possibility that Conte rolls with those two guys and sticks with the 3-4-3 and plays Neres and Politano midweek, sorry, Neres and Lang midweek, and then goes to Politano against Roma as a bit more of a veteran guy, a big game. Politano is Roman as well. So I'm not convinced that Politano. I assume what you're suggesting is that Politano plays midweek, and then we go back to Neres for the Roma match.
I mean, why not just try it? I know it's a big game, but why not just try it? Try Lang starting against Roma. I mean, might as well, just to see where he's actually what he's actually capable of against this big team. I mean, Atalanta is not Atalanta against Gasperini, so with Gasperini. So I mean,
and just to
yeah,
be clear, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to guess how Conte thinks. I can't get off of him being a stubborn guy and doing what he knows. But yeah, I do agree. I hope he gives McTominay a break because then he's the next guy I'm concerned about. Like I was very concerned about Anguissa being overplayed, and now I'm a little bit concerned about
and we know how that turned out with his injury.
With Anguissa, exactly. And McTominay, both of them are guys that also play every minute with their national teams during these breaks, so they just don't get rest. So I'm hoping we see someone like Elmas, maybe even Vergara play in the midfield to spell McTominay just to give him a break. Or if we do use McTominay, I'm hoping like we score a couple quick goals and then we can rotate at take him off at half or 60th minute or something to give him a little bit of rest. But I think you're right. Like I think maybe Oliveira plays at that kind of left wing back spot. There's some options there.
I forgot about Oliveira. He hasn't done anything really.
Well, he's been relegated now to kind of the third option behind Spinazzola and Gutierrez. Although he could also be an option as a left-sided center back because that's where he plays with Uruguay's national team. We'll see if I have a feeling Rachmani is going to be rested for
JJ for Juan Jesus.
Yeah, so I think we probably end up with Beukema as the right-sided center back. Basically, how we finished the match against Atalanta with Beukema, Buongiorno, and Jesus. And then again, like unfortunately, Lobotka is going to have to play again because I don't know what's going on with Billy Gilmore, but there just seems to be nobody even knows what his recovery time is. I think it was a groin injury, so those are weird types of injuries. So yeah, we'll see. I think there's still going to be a couple of guys that are going to have to play more minutes than we would like them to play, and hopefully they're able to just take it easy in this Qarabag match, get a win. It's at home, so that helps. It's not like we're traveling. It would have been something like a 12-hour flight from Naples to Azerbaijan. So thankfully it's in
you never know though. It's Conte in the UCL. It could be 0-0 with 85 minutes, then we could score 3 there, and then just make us do that. Just make us wait patiently and make us nervous for no reason.
Yeah, or even we might score 1 goal and like kind of defend a 1-goal lead against a club from Azerbaijan and end up having to play regular starters more than we would like to play them. Alessandro, any other thoughts on either the Qarabag match or the Roma match coming up?
I think Qarabag, we got it in the bag, no pun intended, but Qarabag, we got it in the bag, and then Roma, I think it's going to be a nice conservative 1-0 victory for us. So
that's a bold prediction. If that one must be away from home because we're playing on.
Yeah, we're at the Stadio Olimpico.
Yeah, I think.
Although, last year it wasn't the best because we conceded that last-minute goal, but hopefully we can turn things around.
Yeah, you mentioned Gasperini leaving Atalanta. He's doing remarkably well with Roma. So I would even, people are going to criticize me or accuse me of being like having a loser mentality, but I think I'd be satisfied with a draw away from home against Roma.
The thing is, Conte, he knows how to manage these games. He knows how to. He'll get them ready. I wouldn't be worried. He'll get them ready.
Yeah, he is good in the big games. Today we're recording this on Sunday, and we had the Milan derby, and I think the big, as good as Christian Kivu has been for Inter, where he's lacked is in the big matchups. Inter have not performed well in those games, and again, they might have deserved a better result today, but Kivu loses another
missed penalty.
Yeah,
But
And Hakan is almost probably the closest to a guarantee when it comes to penalty kicks. They also hit a couple posts or a couple crossbars in the
and
first
some
half.
big saves from Manyan, but
Yeah, so but at the end of the day, it's not the results are not based on the XG; they're based on the actual score, and that is a I don't know. What do you think? Are you happy? Would you have obviously? I think we all probably would have wanted a draw between Milan and Inter. But if you had to pick a team to win, would you rather it be Milan playing once a week or Inter, given, you know, Inter are probably still the best team in the league despite where they sit in the table?
I mean, it's so close. Like the table is so close. I mean,
Yeah.
I couldn't because we would still because obviously Roma was gonna win today against Cremonese. I was hoping for Jimmy Vardy to score like a hat trick or whatever. But yeah, I mean it's so close, so it doesn't really matter at this point. It matters what matters is Sunday, and what matters is
Mhm.
Juventus. It's these big matches that matter.
Yeah.
These people, they're gonna slip up. We've slipped up. Everybody has slipped up. So
That's a great point. Like you don't control what you don't control. It doesn't really matter. We Napoli as a team have to focus on the matches ahead of them, right? As
don't
fans, sure, we can
don't
look at
forget
other.
about Bologna too.
I
They're in
was about to say they got a big win against was it against Fiorentina
Udin.
or Udinese? You're right.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
yes.
Juve.
Juve drew Fiorentina.
Yeah,
But yeah, I was hoping Udinese would do something, but Bologna, man, even you know things were not really going their way in the first half of that match. They had was it a penalty stopped? I think Orsolini penalty stopped. They
yeah.
had an Orsolini goal taken away by VAR for offside, and then Italiano, who's been super impressive, make some changes at the half, and they come out flying and pop two quick goals, and that was it, game over. And for a moment there, Bologna were they top of the table or second? I think second
Yeah,
in the table.
they were second at one point, yeah, until we
Yeah,
won, and then
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't think they can be ruled out. They're certainly not going to be an easy team. When you talk about how teams are going to drop points, I think Bologna is going to be one of those teams, kind of like how Atalanta have been in the past or in recent years. That they're
yeah,
they're it's definitely not a guaranteed win against them.
yeah, because I think last year Atalanta they were first place for a little bit, and then they just started to slip down and then lose some matches. So
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
take advantage of that. So
Hopefully that's the same thing with Roma this year under Gasperini. That maybe they're
and
peaking early and regress to the mean, so to speak, as the season goes on.
and you know what? It's the Derby del Sole. Like, what more could you ask for a win against your biggest rivals or one of your
Yeah,
biggest rivals?
yeah. I'll take a win against anybody, but yeah, I mean, it's certainly a pretty crucial match, sort of heading into the winter or as we come to the end of the calendar year. It's still close, not quite at the halfway mark, but I guess first and foremost we got to get past Qarabag and get those 3 points so that we can continue having a good chance of progressing to at least to the playoff round of the Champions League. I think top eight is going to be pretty difficult at this stage, but
I don't know how we're 24th at this point. I don't know how we're 24th halfway through. We've been abysmal.
there's just so
Terrible.
many teams. I think that there's going to be enough teams that have also been abysmal. And when you think of some of these teams, I mean, I think top 24 is very, very doable.
I want to get I'd want to get top 16. I think isn't it top 16 you get home advantage in the second leg, top
Yeah, I'm not
15. I'm
I'm not quite
not
sure.
too
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, we haven't been in the Champions League since the group stages were still there.
The old
So
format,
we're not
exactly.
used to
We're still learning how this new format works. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it, frankly, but it's good revenue if you can progress, and I think that's important for Napoli. I think the key is that we got to get wins against the weaker teams that we play against, and then it's okay if we lose to City or to Chelsea even. Um, at this point especially, I don't think we're taking a top 8 spot, so finish in that 9 to 24 range and just get to the playoff.
hope for
Hopefully
the
we
best.
get a decent draw or whatever. Alessandro, it's the episode's flown by. I hope you've
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
I have. I have.
I think we're gonna wrap it up there, though. Thank you so much for taking the time.
No problem. I mean, it's been such an experience. My first ever podcast, being a guest on, so it's been fun.
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's happy to have you back on sometime soon. And who knows, we'll see. You might roll out your own pod. We'll
Yeah,
see how that goes, and certainly happy to share that if that happens. But for anyone who wants to find this podcast, if you're listening to the audio version, you can find it on YouTube. Just look up Forza Napoli Pod or Forza Napoli Podcast, and please like and subscribe while you're there. It helps to get the pod out there to more and more people. If you're watching on YouTube and want the audio version, maybe for your drive to work or while you're at the gym, you can find it on any of the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you'd like to get your podcasts. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on mostly on X at Forza Napoli Pod or Joe underscore Fischetti 5. But I'm on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these things as well. So by all means, reach out. Always happy to chat about Napoli. I'm not sure if I'll be doing a Qarabag review pod. It's been pretty crazy lately, but for sure we will be back at some point to talk about the Roma match. So until then, I'm Joe Fischetti. Forza Napoli sempre.
ciao.